The sixth common mistake that many employers make, which can be costly, and this applies mostly to restaurants and retail businesses, is paying their employees with cash instead of issuing formal paychecks with all the proper payroll deductions taken out. And there are several reasons why some employers choose to do this, why some businesses choose to pay all of their employees or some of their employees with cash. The first and the most obvious reason is that these employers want to save by not paying payroll taxes and related expenses. And the other main reason is that they actually want to help their workers. Maybe their workers struggling financially really badly and they could really benefit from putting all that money in their pocket as cash instead of worrying about paying taxes and having all these deductions taken. And of course, when it comes to undocumented workers, the employers don't have a choice. If they want to keep those workers, they have to pay them in cash because they can't put them on a payroll even if they want to. However, generally, it's a mistake to do this. It's a mistake to try to save a little bit of money by not paying payroll deductions, and it's a mistake to show that type of generosity to your employees. And the main single reason for this is that when you pay your employees with cash, you do not have proof of paying them. So if you have someone who is working for you for 6 months, for a year, for 2 years, for however long, and then one day something happens, you have a conflict with that employee, or you fire that employee gets angry, he goes to court or he goes to the labor board and he says, that employer never paid me at all. And then you're on the hook for paying for all these hours. How are you going to prove that you paid that employee? Unless you have a written acknowledgement from that employee for every time you paid him that states how much you paid and what you paid for, 9 times out of 10, you are going to lose that case in court or in front of the labor commissioner. So that type of generosity can, and it often does, backfire. Now let's take a more typical situation. Some employers choose to pay a certain portion with a paycheck and the other portion with cash. Let's say you have an employee who works 60 hours a week. You pay with paycheck for 40 hours and you pay him with cash for the remaining 20 hours. And you don't get any acknowledgement from the employee for paying him that extra cash. It would be very easy for that employee to go to the labor board one day and to say, look, I work for this guy, for this employer 60 hours a week. He only paid me for 40 hours a week and I never got paid overtime for all those hours. Again, you're on the hook for unpaid overtime unless you have formal acknowledgement of making those payments. Moreover, you're running the risk of getting in trouble with Employment Development Department, with IRS, with all these other agencies, because you as an employer have an obligation to issue paychecks, real formal paychecks, and take all these deductions as required by law. And you might say, well, the employee is equally guilty. No, under the law, you, the employer, are more guilty than the employee of committing those violations. Also, the government knows that going after the employee who is making minimum wage or who doesn't make a whole lot of money and doesn't have any assets would be a waste of time. So they are going to go after, with penalties and fines, they're going to go after someone who they know they can go after, which is you, the employer. So the bottom line is, paying with cash to your employees is a bad idea. Even if you want to be generous, the risk is just too high, and whatever savings you're going to have as a result of not paying all these payroll-related expenses are not worth the risk. Thank you.